of the Zoning Board of Examiners and Appeals. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Ellen McKay.
Here.
Dave Hale.
Here.
Dale Smythe.
Here.
Jackie Sabina. Here. Skylar Quinn.
Here.
Brian Flynn.
Here.
Scott Myers.
Here.
Andrew Romerdahl is excused. You have a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you. Next order of business are minutes. We have minutes for Thursday, June 9th, 2022. May I have a positive motion for approval, please? Moved by Mr. Quinn, seconded by Mr. Hale. Are there any corrections, additions, deletions from the minutes? Seeing none. Is there any objection to approval of the minutes? Seeing none, the motion passes and the minutes are approved by unanimous consent. Next order of business is the special order of business disclosures. Are there any disclosures this evening?
Through the chair, I was recused from case 2022-0048, resolution 2022-007, and I believe that's part of the consent agenda, is it?
Yes.
So I would like to abstain from that vote.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'd also like to abstain from the consent agenda as I was not at that meeting.
Anyone else? Okay. Moving along to the consent agenda. There are two items on the consent agenda, resolutions for approval. Resolutions 2022-007 and Resolution 2022-008. Can I have a positive motion, please? Moved by Mr. Quinn, seconded by Mr. Flynn. Does anyone wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Seeing none, is there any objection to approval of the consent agenda? Seeing none, the consent agenda is approved by unanimous consent. Which brings us to appearance requests. We don't have any unfinished business. Nothing on the regular agenda, which brings us to public hearings. And for public hearings, we have one variance case, and the procedure that we're going to follow for variance cases, the procedure by which the public may speak to the board at its meeting is, after the staff presentation is completed on public hearing items, the chair will ask for the applicant to state their case. The applicant, including all of his or her representatives, has 10 minutes for presentation and may reserve time for rebuttal at the end of the public hearing. Throughout the proceedings, the burden of proof rests upon the applicant, who must convince the board by a preponderance of evidence that the variance should be granted. A concurring vote of a majority of the fully constituted membership of the board, minus those excused by conflicts of interest, shall be required to grant a variance. For a variance to be granted, all 8 standards must be substantially met. On conclusion of the applicant's presentation, the board members and the staff may then direct questions to the applicant through the chair. The chair will then open the hearing to public testimony on the issue. Persons who wish to testify will follow the time limits established in the rules of procedure. Representative groups such as community councils, PTAs, etc., have 5 minutes and individuals have 3 minutes. When your testimony is complete, you may be asked questions by the board. You may only testify once on any issue unless questioned by the board. The time is kept by the secretary. The display at the front will be green to within 1 minute of the time allowed and then will turn yellow. At this time, you should begin to sum up your testimony. At the end of the allowed time, a light will turn red and a tone will sound. An individual may have appeal rights related to any action the Zoning Board of Examiners and Appeals takes. The parties have 30 days from the date of mailing or other distribution of the decision to file an appeal to Superior Court. Okay, so our first case 2021-0081, and the petitioner is Vertical Bridge Development. Is the petitioner's representative here? He indicates he is. Okay. Will the staff please describe the notice given in this case?
Thank you, Madam Chair. On June 20th, 2022, a total of 101 public hearing notices were mailed in accordance with the procedures of AMC 2103-020H. As of this writing, no public comments have been received. The Eagle River Valley Community Council did not provide comments on this case, but did on the previous case requiring the rezone of this property from CE B3SL to its current zoning of CE B3, eliminating the special limitations. This is the supplemental item you were given earlier tonight. The Community Council was in support of the rezone and replacement of the tower at this site. Also on page 14 of your packet is the support of the adjacent property owner to the west with the residential structure that is 240 feet from the base of the new proposed tower.
Thank you. Are there any objections to the sufficiency of notice in this case? Seeing none, we will continue. Will the staff please present the case?
Madam Chair, Vertical Bridge is requesting a dimensional variance from AMC 2105-040K7B1, minimum separation distance from potential land uses to allow a new 125-foot tall Type 1 tower monopole with a 5-foot tall lightning rod, the combined height of 130 feet to encroach approximately 20 feet into the required minimum separation distance of 200% between the base of the tower and any principal structure on residentially zoned land. In 2001, Alaska Digital, the predecessor to General Communications Inc., GCI, applied for and constructed a 75-foot wood telecommunications antenna pole located on the western property line of Tract B, P&M subdivision. This tower has been in operation since 2001 and is currently under management and ownership by Vertical Bridge S3 Assets LLC, which purchased most of GCI's telecommunications facilities in 2016. With the current age and height of the wood monopole, Vertical Bridge is proposing the removal of the old pole and installation of a new metal monopole, allowing continued use in this area and allowing co-location of other services to reduce the need for additional telecommunication antenna within the area and required in municipal code. Municipal Code 2105-040KD requires towers constructed after June 21st, 2016 to accommodate the space and be engineered to co-locate 3 separate carriers per tower site. The existing wood monopole was only designed to accommodate 1 carrier and needs replacement as it has been in service for just over 20 years. In order to approve the variance, the application must state with particularity the relief sought and must specify the facts of circumstances that are alleged to show that the application substantially meets the following standards. Standard A is met. The tower location on Track B is currently located on a bench of land that is approximately 15 feet lower than Eagle River Road in elevation. This location is also at the top of an embankment that drops approximately 55 feet in elevation to the next bench and greenhouses. Given the slopes of this tract and the surrounding tracts, this location is the only relatively level and large enough space to accommodate the new tower and additional space for co-locators. Standard B is met. Municipal Code 2105-040KD requires towers constructed after June 21st, 2016 to accommodate the space required to co-locate 3 separate carriers per tower site. The construction of a 130-foot tall tower, which is allowed in the CE B3 district, provides the height needed to provide space for 3 carriers as required by code. The strict application of code in this case would create an undue hardship. Standard C is met. This hardship is not self-imposed. The existing cell site has existed since 2001, and this variance request is to replace a tower that has reached its age of use. This new tower is permitted in the CE B3 district and is located on the site to reduce impacts on the primary greenhouse business and maintain a height on the property that provides coverage. Standard D is met. This is the only CEB3 zone property in this area, surrounded by residential property. This site has existed as a commercial greenhouse since 1976, with the addition of a cell tower in 2001. The new tower will be approximately 60 feet taller than the existing tower, providing space for co-location and improved data and voice communications to the surrounding area. Standard E is met. This is the only CE3B zone property in the area, surrounded by residential property. This site has existed as a commercial greenhouse since 1976, with the addition of a cell tower in 2001. Towers up to 130 feet in height are permitted use in the CEB3 district. Standard F is met. There are no identified health or safety issues with this property. This tower will provide space for co-location, potentially improving E911 service plus data and voice communication for emergency service, police, and fire. Standard G is met. This standard does not apply to a telecommunication tower. Standard H is met. This variance would grant a separation distance of approximately 180% between the base of the tower and any principal structure on residentially zoned land. This tower is 240 feet from the residential structure to the west, and the code requires 260 feet, given the tower's overall height of 130 feet. This variance would grant the minimum reasonable given the constraints of the site. Therefore, the department finds that all standards are substantially met and therefore recommends approval of the variance subject to conditions 1 and 2 found on page 5 of your staff packet. I can answer any questions that the board may have, and Gary Brecky, the petitioner's representative, is here.
Thank you. Are there any questions of staff by the board? Are there any questions of staff by the applicant? Do you have any questions? No. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so will the applicant or the applicant's representative please come forward and state and spell your name for the record? You need to turn on your mic.
There. My name is Gary Brecky, and I represent Vertical Bridge on this permitting and variance process.
Thank you. Please state your case.
My name?
No, your case.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
State the case. State your case.
Oh, well, it's a pretty straightforward project, a tower swap project, as described by staff. A 70-foot wooden pole being replaced by a 125-foot structure with a 5-foot lightning rod on it. And we're here about the variance because of the issue with the 200% fall zone. But we feel that we've met all the conditions to apply for the variance and hope to get it approved by you folks tonight so we can move forward. If you have any other specific questions about the project, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. You have 9 minutes and 20 seconds of rebuttal time.
I would save that time in case of rebuttal.
Okay. Are there any questions of Mr. Brecky by the board members?
Okay.
Are there any questions of the applicant by the staff?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I have to ask a question here. It's kind of silly, but I'll have to ask it anyway. Is there anyone from the public wishing to testify in this case? In case 2021-0081? Anyone at all? Seeing no one, do you have any rebuttal?
No.
Mm-hmm. Does the staff have any rebuttal?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, then we shall close the public hearing, and the matter rests with the board. May I have a positive motion, please? Mr. Hale.
I move in case 2021-0081 PNM subdivision track B to approve a dimensional variance from AMC 21.05.040.K.7.B.I. Minimum separation distance from protected land uses subject to conditions 1 and 2 shown on page 5 of the staff report.
Thank you. Seconded by Mr. Smythe. It has been moved and seconded that Moved and seconded that a variance be granted to allow, to approve a dimensional variance from AMC 21-05040K7B1, minimum separation distance from protected land uses subject to conditions 1 and 2. Will the maker of the motion please speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with the comments from staff and their summary of it, and I would just reiterate that granting the variance would move the property closer to conformance with Municipal Code 21.05.04 KD, which requires 3 separate carriers. So it's moving closer to conformance. I think it's a good idea.
And Mr. Smythe, do you have anything?
I agree completely with staff and the findings of Mr. Hale.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Are you ready for the question? Okay. The question is on the adoption of the motion to grant a variance, to approve a dimensional variance from AMC 21-05040K7BI, B1, minimum separation distance from projected land uses, subject to conditions 1 and 2 on page 5 of the staff report. A yes vote will grant the variance, a no vote will deny the variance. Please vote. Okay, there are 7 votes in the affirmative and 0 votes in the negative, and so the variance is granted. There you go. It's going to be a quick meeting. Reports. I don't have a report. The secretary doesn't have a report. We don't have any committees. Board members, any comments? No comments. All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We're adjourned.